Hi everyone, welcome back to Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. My name's Alice and today's video is a bit different. In celebration of the end of the Euro 2020 football tournament, I thought I would make a video about my collection of football books. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. This video isn't quite like my usual videos, although I will still be talking about books. If you're not new here, you may not know about me that I am, as well as a huge book lover, a big fan of football. I've been following football on and off since around about 1995, which is now a very long time. So today, in honour of the Euro 2020 final, I thought we could have a look at my football bookshelf and talk a little bit about me and football books. Please do stick around even if you're not interested in football in particular, because hopefully you'll get to know me a little bit better and you'll see some of my book collection of books that I have already read rather than my constant TBR. If you don't know, Euro 2020 is a football tournament that has been taking place in June and July 2021 and it's now reached its final week. I'm filming this on Tuesday, so there is a semi-final tonight, which is Italy against Spain, and there is a semi-final tomorrow night, which is England versus Denmark. It's been very rare in my life in football for England to be in a semi-final. When we have been in a semi-final twice in my lifetime, it has never really ended very well, so at the time of filming, I don't know how it's going to turn out and whether England are going to be in the final. By the time this video comes out, I will know whether England's in the final, so let's quickly hand over to future Alice, who's going to tell us whether England made it to the final or not. Take it away, future Alice. I get the really great job of announcing that England got through to the Euro 2020 final last night. It's the first final that England have ever been in my lifetime, so I'm extremely excited. England play Italy on Sunday at Wembley. It was a very tense semi-final last night and I was so relieved when England got through 2-1 after extra time against Denmark. And in the other semi-final, Italy beat Spain on penalties, so it's England versus Italy in the Euro 2020 final. I'm sure lots of you will be watching this England team as they make history. It's their first time ever in the European Championship final and only the second final they've been in their history. And we all know what happened in the first final. So fingers crossed, everything crossed. Let's hope we have a great game on Sunday. There's only one way now that this tournament could end in an even better way, and I don't even dare to dream it yet, so come on England. I still can't believe it, so without any further excitement, let me pass you back to past Alice, who's going to tell you about some football books. Thank you, future Alice. Let's hope that what future Alice said was good news. If not, never mind. I'll be happy either way, I hope. To celebrate the final, I thought that I'd make a video a little bit about my love for football. And it's going to be told to you through a tour of my half a bookshelf of football books, which sits behind me here, down below my cookery bookshelf, right down here where you can't see it. So let's show you the bookshelf as it looks up here. As you can see, I am a Blackburn Rovers fan, the disappointment of which has often prepared me for life as an England supporter as well. The story of my interest in football starts back in 1995 with my very first Premier League football sticker book. I had one and my brother had one. I think it was my dad asked, who do you support? And I said Norwich City because they were my local club at the time, and my brother flicked through his book, I thought at random at the time, and said he supported Blackburn Rovers. We lived a long way away from Blackburn, but at the time Blackburn were on the verge of winning their first ever Premier League title. But I didn't know this at the time. My first game of football that I went to live was Norwich City versus Aston Villa. It was the final day of the 1994-95 season, and Norwich were relegated. On the very same day, Blackburn Rovers won the Premier League title, and my brother was very happy. So in the 1995-96 season, my family and I started going to Blackburn Rovers football matches, mostly away games in London, which we could get to more easily, but eventually the time came and we went to Ewood Park, Blackburn Rovers home ground, and I just felt a sense of magic there that I didn't feel at Carrow Road at Norwich. And from then on, I was lost to Blackburn Rovers, basically. Anyway, let's talk about the books on the shelf. To start with, we have books that are about Blackburn Rovers. We have Blackburn Rovers, The Complete Record, which is an extremely heavy encyclopedia-like book about Blackburn Rovers, so that's cool. That's by Mike Jackman. This is Blackburn Rovers, an illustrated history, which I loved reading and looking at the pictures in. So both of these essentially tell the story of Blackburn Rovers as a football club. Then we move on along the shelf. There are books that are also to do with Blackburn Rovers. The first is Alan Shearer, My Illustrated Career. If you've been watching any of the Euro 2020, you may have seen Alan Shearer along with Gary Lineker on the BBC coverage, and he's probably my favourite footballer of all time. I was lucky enough to see him live playing for Blackburn before he moved to Newcastle. He was just the best player I've ever seen play live, and we actually met him up at Blackburn. My mum had lost her voice at the time and we were standing in a crowd of people wanting autographs. Alan Shearer was near us but not about to come over, and my mum shouted out in her croaky voice, "Alan, we've come all the way from Norfolk to see you." And he came straight over, signed our autographs, and it was amazing. So I'll always be very, very fond of Alan Shearer as a player, and this is a really good book about his career. Lots of lovely photographs, some of which are of him winning the title with Blackburn Rovers. So that's Blackburn Rovers related too. As is Thinking Outside the Box by Brad Friedel. Brad Friedel used to be the goalkeeper at Blackburn Rovers, not when we won the title, but years later when I started going to football games with my husband. Definitely my favourite goalkeeper who's ever played for Blackburn, and this is a really good book. He's obviously a very intelligent footballer, thinks a bit differently as a goalkeeper, so yeah, really enjoyed this book. Next on my shelf is my one book that is about England, and it's called 3 Lines on Her Shirt. And this book has a different story for me because after I'd finished at university, I did some work experience at a local newspaper, the Eastern Daily Press in Norwich. And on that work experience, I actually was lucky enough to go and see an England Lionesses football match at Carrow Road, which was being held that week. So I sat in the press box and watched England Lionesses versus Iceland back in 2006. And I've since been to see England Lionesses play at Wembley. That was back in November 2019, just before all of this pandemic and everything. This is actually my England Lionesses shirt from the World Cup tournament that they were in 2019. Where I enjoyed following them. So anyway, it's the story of England women's football, which is a really interesting read. Doesn't go right up to present day, but it's a really great, interesting story following a lot of different female players. A great read, this one. The next part of my football bookshelf is quite random. I have a book by Harry Redknapp, which is called A Man Walks Onto a Pitch. I've actually read 2 books by Harry Redknapp. One was his autobiography, Always Managing, and the other was this one, A Man Walks Onto a Pitch. I really enjoyed both. I actually unhauled and passed on Always Managing and kept A Man Walks Onto a Pitch because this one is more anecdotal and has some interesting and funny stories about football, as told by Harry Redknapp, who is a bit of a legend. He's a manager and a personality who I really admire, and I have always got enjoyment out of hearing him talk, and he was on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, of course. So yeah, love Harry Redknapp. This one's on my TBR. It's called Forgive Us Our Press Passes, and this is a series of essays. Then we have the one football book on the shelf that isn't mine. This is my husband's, and it is the autobiography of Alan Curbishley, who was manager of Charlton Athletic for a long time. My husband's a Charlton Athletic supporter, and he actually met Alan Curbishley and had his book signed. So it's a signed copy of Valley of Dreams by Alan Curbishley. I haven't actually read this book, not sure if I ever will. Next on my shelf, I also have The Last Game by Jason Cowley. This is about the final game of the season in 1989, Arsenal against Liverpool at Anfield. It's all about that match, told through interviews and told through Jason Cowley's own life, and this is one of the most interesting football books I've read. There have been time periods in my life where I've been, if not a fan, then certainly very interested in Arsenal. My dad used to have a season ticket there for a little while, so we used to sometimes get to go to games there. So Arsenal do hold a little bit of a place in my heart, although they would never usurp Blackburn Rovers in there. And finally, on that shelf, I have The Story of the World Cup. This was the essential companion to Brazil 2014 World Cup. I haven't actually read it. I previously had a book called A Thinking Fan's Guide to the World Cup, which I think came out at the same time as possibly 2006 World Cup. I didn't read that one either. So at some point I really do need to read a book about the history of the World Cup. Maybe I will, but not right now. I also had a quick look on the other bookshelves in the house, and I do have Sir Bobby Charlton's My England Years autobiography still to read. I've previously read Sir Bobby Charlton's autobiography part 1, My Manchester United Years, which, although I don't like Manchester United, was a really, really interesting read. And I'm sure this will be very interesting too. I would like to go back to this at some point and find out all about England's World Cup victory through the eyes of Sir Bobby Charlton. Perhaps if England have managed to get through to the final, I will read this. That's all from my video all about my football book collection. I hope you've enjoyed it and I haven't rambled on for too long about football. I couldn't pass up the opportunity to make a special video as I've been enjoying the Euro 2020 tournament so much. Hopefully you'll see this before you watch the final. If you are watching the final, I hope it's a really, really good game and that we all enjoy it, and it's been a brilliant tournament. I've loved following it, and it'll be an extra bonus if England have gone through when this video comes out, because that would mean that we would be in the final of a tournament for the first time in my lifetime. Fingers crossed that's already happened, but if it hasn't, it's still been a really fun tournament, and I am still going to watch the final and find out who wins. This has been a bit of a different video. I don't always talk about football. In fact, this is the first time I've talked about football. If you've managed to watch all the way to the end, please let me know your predictions for the final in the comments down below. Also, if you have read any books about football that you would recommend to me, I would love to hear them. That's all from me and my football book collection. I hope you'll join me again soon for another video all about books on Alice and the Giant Bookshelf. Bye for now.